wanna talk? So let's talk. Here. Talk. You wanna talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta
Good evening and welcome. It's Talk to Solomon time. That's me, Stan Solomon. Thank you for joining us. My co-host,
Chief Steve.
former police chief Steve Davis, and our guest, Ted Shoebat. He and his dad, Waleed Shoebat, have been, well, putting their literal lives on the line, coming out and telling the truth about what's happening in the Middle East. Ted, how are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I am fine. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having
Ted,
me.
we're going to start with the discussion that you put forward to me when we booked you, and that is that we have a president in President Obama who speaks out of both sides of his mouth, if you will. He's ready to intervene in some circumstances and totally ignores similar circumstances, all depending on who's upset and who's trying to be upset. Am I close?
You're very close. There was a report that came out a couple weeks ago which stated that Obama allowed for $25 million to go in aid for the rebels. And then on Thursday of 2 weeks ago as well, it was reported again that Obama okayed for another $12 million to go for the aid of the Syrian rebels. And according to Obama, he is doing this because he believes that Bashar al-Assad is a tyrant and the rebels are simply fighting for their liberty. Well, that is simply just not true. According to the former U.S. envoy to Sudan, Andrew Tues, who was quite an expert on the Sudanese situation, you have Omar al-Bashir, for example, who was a mass murderer. He is the worst, I would say, in the world right now. From what I have, from my own research, he has been responsible for the deaths of over 3 million people. He is an Islamic fundamentalist leader who was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, who wants to do a full-out jihad on the Christians, which he has already done, and he has killed more than half the number of the Jews Hitler killed, over 3 million, most of them Christian and others non-Muslim, and non-Arab Muslims as well. And he wants to implement full Sharia in his country of North Sudan. Christian South Sudan, which is being ran by a Salva Kiir, who was a Christian, was supporting rebels in the Darfur region, in Darfur, rebels who wanted to get rid of the dictator and the slaughterer, Bashir, and replace it with a democratic country. And what happened was that Obama had a personal meeting with Kiir telling him to stop giving aid to the rebels against Bashir. And Salva Kiir was compelled to stop. He had to stop giving weapons to the rebels in Darfur. Now, here is Obama preventing a revolution against the greatest mass murderer of our time, Omar al-Bashir. But yet, he is giving American dollars to oust out the dictator, Bashar al-Assad, who is merely, really, if you look at the reality of it, merely protecting his country against rebels, majority of whom are not even Syrian. They're from different countries. Many of them are from Chechnya, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey. Most of them are foreigners. And the great majority of their money is coming from Wahhabists in Saudi Arabia.
All right, cool.
So this is really a terrorist takeover of Syria.
Well, I had IM'd you a long time ago.
Hello?
Well, I'm listening to what you're saying with both fury and frustration. Know well how many Christians have been slaughtered in the south of Sudan, and know what a tyrant
it doesn't sound like it's going to go
that
well.
leader is. You're coming across on the air here. And so it is very frustrating to hear this. But what you're saying about Syria is a bit surprising. You're saying that the majority of those, quote unquote, in the rebellion in Syria are not Syrians, but yet we've seen him attacking Syrian cities, right?
Yeah, well, he attacked Syrian cities, and the major rebel group right now is called the Free Syrian Army. and they're being funded by the Muslim Brotherhood. It was reported that the Muslim Brotherhood is raising $40,000 to $50,000 a month to give them weapons. They're being supported by the U.S. government. McCain actually visited the Free Syrian Army and said that we should support the Free Syrian Army not only with weapons, but also with air power. And then also you have Senator Joseph Lieberman, who came out and said that we should give them weapons as well. Well, the Free Syrian Army is a terrorist organization. 80,000 Christians in the Homs province in Syria were forced out of their homes by the Free Syrian Army. They were forced into exile, and then after that, the Free Syrian Army destroyed all of their homes. These atrocities have been going on by the Free Syrian Army. In fact, I have been looking at videos filmed by members of the Free Syrian Army and other people in Syria right now. And I'm working on a video right now and about to release it showing this footage. We're talking beheadings, we're talking mass execution, we're talking destruction of property, dragging bodies in the streets, screaming Allahu Akbar, mutilations, stuff that comes out of a horror film. These are literally walking zombies. So when we're talking about replacing Bashar al-Assad with this new rebellion, we're talking about replacing dictatorship with mob rule. That's what it is at the end of the day. The mission of the rebels is to replace Bashar al-Assad so they can gain power. Then once they gain power, what they want to do is do a mass extermination of the Christians, the Shiite, the Alawites, and the Druze. This is another sect, another religious group in Syria called the Druze. They want to kill all these people, but they can't do that unless Assad is gone. Assad really is protecting the minorities in Syria. In fact, the Assad regime has protected the Christians. Hafiz al-Assad, Bashar al-Assad's father, protected the Christians. And they talk about all the massacres that his father committed. The greatest massacre that his father committed was in Homs, Syria, which was the reason why he destroyed Homs was because it was hiding major members of the Muslim Brotherhood. Hafiz al-Assad almost exterminated the Muslim Brotherhood. But the reason why he did so was because the Muslim Brotherhood, after being tolerated for so long, was trying to do a coup in the government and was putting bombs in buildings. So they had to be stopped. People need to understand this is how the Middle East is. If you don't get rid of these people, they will kill you. That's how the Middle East is. If you show any bit of weakness, they will try to kill you and take over your country. So you have to show strength. You have to show some form of military might and force if you want to remain in power. And if the Assad regime does not remain in power, then Syria will not only will the rebels kill all the Christians and the Shiite, but they will also advance the Ummah, the Islamic nation in Syria, and Syria will become a part of this axis of evil which we have been seeing forming in the recent times. Egypt, Libya is on its way. Afghanistan, once the American military leaves Afghanistan, it will turn Sharia. Once Iraq loses its American presence, it will turn into Sharia. It will become an ally of Iran. So all of this is heading to, is simply a foreshadowing of the formation, the official formation, that is, of an Islamic axis of evil.
Now, Ted, Brent just joined us, Brent Johnson, and of course Chief Steve is here. I'm going to ask this question and we'll have others pitch in. It was my understanding that Iran has stood up for Assad, that said that they won't let him fall. Is that right or wrong? That's
correct.
But don't they want the Jews, the Christians, the Druze, all these other people out too?
Yes, but you have to understand what the intricacy of it, and this is where it gets kind of complicated, and it confuses myself as well. The Iranians and the Assad regime, they're both part of the Shiite. You see, they're both part of Shia Islam. If the rebels take power, the rebels are Sunnis. Let's not forget, the majority of Syrians are Sunni. The rebels coming in from Saudi Arabia, from Turkey, from Chechnya, these are all Sunni Muslims. They want to see and they hate each other. They hate each other more. I would say the Iranians hate the Sunni more than they hate the Americans. I would say that it's that extreme. And so what the Sunni want to do is they want to take power. Right when they take power in Syria, the rebels take power in Syria, that will make Syria an enemy of Iran. And Syria is extremely well armed, very powerful chemical weapons that Syria holds. The last thing that Iran wants is a Sunni country right next to it with powerful weapons. You see, that will be a danger to Iran.
All right, I see it. I understand it. Let's go to Brent. You have a question here for Ted.
Actually, I have a comment, because what Ted's saying is absolutely what happened in Iraq, where Saddam Hussein, who was in the minority, I believe Iraq at the time was mostly Shiite, and I believe Saddam was Sunni, but however it worked out, Saddam managed to keep using a hard fist, using a real heavy fist. He managed to keep a lid on all of the factions in Iraq. When the U.S. invaded, when the U.S. made its presence known, it popped the lid on all of those factions, and the next thing you knew, everybody was fighting, and there was all of the chaos that took place. If we would take a lesson from what happened in Iraq, we would do what Ron Paul suggests and get the U.S. out of involvement in the Middle East politics. We don't understand it. We cannot hope to do anything beneficial in the Middle East, and we certainly cannot impose our politics on the Middle East. If we don't understand it, it just won't work.
All right, Chief?
Well, I like the comment that Ted made earlier. He made an analogy, called this a horror film, which I think is exactly right on target. And I believe that most Americans don't realize how dangerous the Muslims are, especially the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda and those types of groups. And so also take this back home here, and what we should be doing, we should be only supporting people who support the interests of the United States of America only. And so Barack Obama hates the United States of America. That's why he's not doing the right thing, supporting those who only have our best interests at heart, which we should also include, if we're going to support anybody, should be some type of an arrangement where they're going to give us every bit of information about weapons of mass destruction in Syria, so we know that information. But only the U.S. interest should be held to the highest standard here in any help we give to anybody.
For us, I agree. Now,
but Steve, Stan, if I may, just one other comment. Steve, the problem there is the term interest of the United States is politically vague. See, we go into Syria because we say, well, it supports our interests, and we give some kind of convoluted explanation as to how our interests are supported. I'd much rather see a definitive definition there. When you say support our interests, support the American way, support what makes America great, support, freedom, support liberty, support those things. But our interest is just too vague, and there are people out there politically who will take advantage of that vagary for their own interests.
Well, I certainly agree with you on that, Brent.
And me too.
We've seen that.
So do I.
No one's going to argue that.
Great points.
Ted, let me talk to you about, let's switch over to Egypt. You alluded to Egypt. Egypt is a country that has had the Muslim Brotherhood longer than anyone because it started there. Mubarak and before him, Nasser and others controlled the Muslim Brotherhood, knowing that they were a cabal of lunatics. Now the elected president, Morsi, whatever his name is, has officially beheaded the military, fired their leaders, and has said, I'm now in charge of the military and the civilian. Whether or not they're going to accept that, so far they haven't done anything or said anything. But what is your feeling? Is the military in Egypt going to give up their power, knowing full well that all of their leaders will be either jailed or executed in order to ensure that morons like they have in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard will be in charge of their military?
Yeah, I think eventually it's going to happen. I think the military will, as they have been doing, will put up a struggle against it because they really don't want the Muslim Brotherhood to take full control. I believe there's a lot of people within the Egyptian military who are still loyal to the politics of Mubarak, which is essentially Arab nationalist politics. And you bring up a good point about Iran. The same thing happened with the Ayatollahs. The Ayatollahs actually assassinated, Khomeini specifically assassinated the generals of Iran because they knew that the generals of Iran were still loyal to the politics of the Shah before him. So, but what that will do is, in a way, it will advance the power of the Muslim Brotherhood, but in the end, the Muslim Brotherhood will be shooting itself in the foot. Let's not forget, in Hitler's Germany, Hitler didn't know really that much about warfare compared to his military. But Hitler didn't care. He simply wanted to have more fighting going on for the cause of the Third Reich. And his military, a lot of them didn't like Hitler because he was insane. He didn't really think logically in regards to military strategy. And I think the same will go on with these countries like Iran and Egypt. They will kill a lot of military leaders to take power, but in the end, they're going to need those military leaders because they're going to want to advance themselves militarily by warfare, but it's going to be difficult without good military strategy. But in the end, I believe Morsi will win.
Do you think Morsi will? He will take over the military?
Yeah, I think eventually it's inevitable. Eventually it's going to happen because the Muslim Brotherhood is very, very powerful. And plus you have the masses of Egypt, the people of Egypt, I think will be on board with Morsi, not only because they elected him, but because just the common sentiments of the people in Egypt. I mean, over 80% of Egyptians believe that the killing of people who leave Islam should be lawful. That tells you right there that we have an Islamic fundamentalist society. So when you have the support of your people, it empowers the tyrant.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. They say that there are about, I don't know, 1.25 billion Muslims. And about half of them, give or take, believe that the Mahdi, and you can explain who that is, will come during their lifetime. So in the next, 20, 30, 40 years. Can you, first of all, how significant is that? And secondly, tell us about this Mahdi.
That's a good question. The Mahdi is the Islamic Messiah. It's their Christ, so to speak. And it's very fascinating because the Muslims actually believe that when the Mahdi comes, he will war specifically against the Christians and the Jews. Let's not forget, when you read the Quran, the enemies that are always made specific are not really, just any non-Muslim people. They're always specifically made toward the Christians and the Jews. The Christians, because they're Unitarians. They're Trinitarian, my mistake. One of the great goals of Islam was to have Unitarianism, the denial of the Trinity, prevail in the world. That's what it was. So Muhammad actually spoke with an Arian monk. The Arian heresy was the denial of the Trinity. And he began to intermix really a form of Arab paganism with Unitarianism, the denial of the Trinity. So that is really the reason why the Muslims hate the Christians, because of that, because they don't want to be Unitarian. They believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So in the end, the Mahdi will fight against the Christian Jesus, because Muhammad accepted, well, there will be this Jesus, the Christians will have their Messiah, but the true Jesus, the true Messiah, the Mahdi, will come and he will fight against the Christian Jesus. So our Antichrist is really their Messiah, and our Messiah is their Antichrist, is their anti-Mahdi, really. And the Muslims believe that when this Mahdi comes, he will kill all the Christians. Well, according to the Mujahideen Shura Council, they believe that the Mahdi will come and slit the throats of the Christians. And then the non-believers also, the other non-believers will be enslaved. Christians will be enslaved as well, not just killed. And it will be a complete, eternal, really a full-out Islamic utopia in which all the world will become one gigantic nation called the Ummah, like a Tower of Babel, if you will. The Ummah, the Islamic nation. Everybody will speak one language, Arabic, and they will be under one leader, the Mahdi, and they will be under one law, the Quran. That's, in a nutshell, is what the Muslims want to happen in the end. And that is why, why the Muslim fundamentalists are so active now in countries like Syria, and the reason why they wanted the Muslim Brotherhood to take control of these countries is because they want to create the Ummah, getting ready for the coming of the Mahdi. Because if you have Islamic Egypt, Islamic Libya, Islamic Syria, well, that's simply an advancement for the Ummah. The more Muslim countries we have, the more countries we have to unite, the more countries we have to make the Ummah larger and larger. And eventually they believe this will become of the whole world.
Is there any denial of the fact that to accomplish this objective, they, meaning the Muslims, are allowed to do anything and all things that there is no such thing as a wrong in accomplishing this objective? For instance, lying to people, breaking of contracts,
Yes.
Denying existing relationships, or committing, if you will, acts against people that have been good to you.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yeah, yes, that's actually an excellent question. There is, Americans know a lot about taqiyya, which is the Islamic form of lying. But taqiyya is the Shiite form of lying, which is the same thing. The Sunnis have what they call maruna, which is essentially the same thing. They believe that it's okay to lie to advance your cause, then betray the people that you lied to. Or make a deal with somebody, then break the deal later. Absolutely. There's also a concept within Islam of doing sin as a means to an end. So if you need to kill a lot of people to advance the Islamic cause, then you can do so. In fact, all these videos that I've been finding from Syria, executions, beheadings, you name it, before they kill somebody, they always say, in the name of Allah, in the name of Allah, the most passionate, the most compassionate, most merciful. Then they go out and they slaughter somebody. But wait a second, I thought your God was compassionate and most merciful. Well, he is, but in order to establish his utopia, in order to establish this great system of government, which we call Islam, a lot of people need to die because not everyone's going to want to follow us. So we can have great bliss and joy in this world, but it's just these people that are ruining it for us, the non-believers. They're the ones ruining it for us. We need to get rid of them. It really is a Middle Eastern version of what happened in the French Revolution. The revolutionaries in the French Revolution, they always talked about liberty and equality for all and the rights of man. But at the same time, they beheaded hundreds of thousands of people. Why? Because they believed, well, we can establish this great utopia of equality for all and justice for all, but there's so many people that don't want to be with us and don't want to join us, they're going to ruin it for the rest of us. So we need to kill off these people and make a perfect society. That's what it's about. It's really typical utopianism in its purest form.
All right,
At the end of the day.
I have a question.
Just about time. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, Ted, I have a question. I have read the Quran, and the Quran does refer to Jesus, and the Quran refers to Abraham from the Old Testament as well, the father of Ishmael and all of that.
Yeah.
Is there anything comparable to the Ten Commandments? The Ten Commandments not only say thou shalt not murder, but they essentially say thou shalt not lie, do not bear false witness.
Breaking up, I can't hear you.
Being that
All right, let me
understand
translate.
that.
He's not able to hear you, Brent. Let me translate. Brent's making the point that in the Old Testament we have the Ten Commandments. Is there any equivalent to that in the Quran?
No, there's nothing. There's no connection. A lot of people, they want to make this idea that Islam is one of the Abrahamic faiths and that it is connected with Abraham, and then Muslims are all sons of Abraham. Well, it's just not true. The Muslims believed that Abraham had sex with Hagar in the Kaaba. They also believed that Abraham was a Muslim who worshipped Allah. It's very misconstrued. I would say that Islam is really a Middle Eastern form of Mormonism, because I could say the same thing about Mormons. The Mormons believe in Jesus and Abraham, and they believe in the Israelites and all that. But they believe that these characters were part of, the Israelites went to America and were part of some white European tribe of Native Indian, of Native American. So it's a misconstrued version of the truth. There's no connection at all with Abraham. In fact, Saint John of Damascus, who was one of our earliest sources for Islam, our non-Muslim sources, that is, for Muhammad, said that the Kaaba, which is the holiest symbol in Islam, was originally an idol for the worship of the planet Venus, and that there was actually a symbol of Venus engraved on the stone, which the Muslims in their earliest times still accepted, and they still walked around the Kaaba just like they do today. And they in fact kissed the Kaaba as though they were kissing a woman, because they believed that Abraham had intercourse with Hagar inside of the Kaaba. It's a completely screwed up corruption of the truth, is what it is. The Ten Commandments says, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. In Islam it says, yeah, you can't kill and can't steal, but you can't kill and steal from another Muslim. You can go ahead and massacre as many non-Muslims as you want. You can't kidnap a Muslim, but you can go ahead and kidnap a Christian or any non-Muslim. That's why Omar al-Bashir in Sudan has killed over 3 million people, because to them, the law doesn't apply to them. The rules does not apply to them. The rules only apply to Muslims.
Scary. All right, I had one more point, and we only have a minute to get to it, and that is that we have people in this country, 2 members of our House that are Muslim, and we have people in this country that say that we must accept Muslims as equals. What would you say to that?
I have no problem with accepting other people of different faiths as equals in America under the law. I believe there are only 2 forms of equality which we should accept in a civilized country: equality before the law and equality of opportunity. Nobody is under or above the law. And the same thing goes with opportunity. The problem is that when you have a people who believe in a political ideology which states that they can infiltrate the country and try to take over the government, that is when it becomes dangerous. If you want to pray to your God and go to your sanctuary and believe in your holy book, that's fine. But as soon as it gets connected with taking over the country and replacing the Constitution with the Quran, that's when it gets dangerous. And that is the sort of dangers that we need to be cautious about.
All right, really, Ted, we're out of time. I want you to tell folks where they can get a hold of your materials, how they get this video when you put it out, please.
Oh, definitely. The video, the website is called tedshoebat.com. The video, once I release it, will be on there. And the name of the book is For God or For Tyranny.
And spell Shoebat for them.
Shoebat is S-H-O-E-B-A-T. It's shoe and bat put together. And it's tedshoebat.com. And the book is For God or For Tyranny.
Tell your father I said hello, stay well, be safe, and keep doing great work, please.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you for being on our show. Folks, stay tuned. Brent Johnson, Chief Steve, and I will be back in just a moment. You have a computer, if you're alive today, which means you have a hard drive, which means it's going to break down. Mosey, the backup people, for thousands, for Stan, for thousands of people, for tens of thousands of people, is simply common sense. You go to cpnlive.com, click on the icon for Mosey, the backup people, and sign up. It's just a few dollars a month. Let me tell you something. We had a break-in. They stole our whole computer. You know what? When they take the computer, you can't recover anything, but we had Mosey. We had the backup. We were able to restore everything simply by buying another computer. cpnlive.com, click on the icon for Mosey, the backup people, and give yourself common sense, peace of mind, great value, the best thing you've ever done. Sooner or later, it's going to be Mosey, the backup people. Let me ask you a question. Do you like being sick? I have in my hand an incredible product. It's called TR10 supercolloidal silver. TR10 stands for a trace to the negative 10th power. The particles in this silver product are 6 to 8 angstroms, 6 to 8 10 billionths of a meter. Now listen to me. Silver has been the magic bullet for all of human existence. The Egyptians used silver instruments. We use silverware. They put silver in your teeth because nothing can grow on silver. Silver will kill anything but liberalism. I'm working on that. This product, you go to cpnlive.com, buy 1 quart of this product. It will last you for a very long time. Anytime you feel like you've been exposed to something bad, take some of this product, spray it in your mouth, or take a little bit and gargle it, swallow it. It will kill any pathogen. The average antibiotic kills 10 to 20 different pathogens. This product will kill 700 plus. Do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, do your doctor a favor. He's tired of seeing you. Get Super Colloidal Silver. Go to cpnlive.com, order the product. It's $29.95 plus shipping. I think it's $39.95 delivered any place in America right to your door. It's worth 10 times that. Check it out. If you're not 100% happy, just return it and we'll give you your money back. Hey, my name is Stan Solomon, and you know if I have something to say, I'll say it. And I'll only tell you the truth because I'm a Republican, not a Democrat. Democrats always lie. Republicans only lie half the time. I don't lie at all. This is the Fuel Mule. It's an extraordinary product that was developed by a friend of mine, an engineer, and it increases the fuel mileage on your vehicle. If you have a combustion engine, this will increase your mileage by 10 to 20%. It bolts around your fuel line. You can install it yourself or have your mechanic do it. It is an extraordinary item and it flat works. I've been using it for more than 10 years. It's increased my mileage on every vehicle I put it on, and by the way, it will last forever. You can get rid of your vehicle, just take it off and put on the next one. Go to cpnlive.com. You'll have more information there. You can order it right there. We absolutely guarantee you'll be satisfied. The Fuel Mule. It's a way to kick down your cost of fuel and kick up your mileage. Don't you love the name? I thought of it. The Fuel Mule.